Hello friends, I'm Jesse from ShrinkRC, and we make body mounts for hard body rock crawlers and trail trucks. Today I'm going to talk about how to make custom links. If you're familiar with our channel, you know that we have a Chevy truck conversion on a Traxxas TRX4, and I've got that set at a 12.3-inch wheelbase. But what happens if you want to put a Blazer body on a TRX4? Well, Traxxas doesn't sell the right links to make an 11.4-inch wheelbase for your truck. And this Blazer is a hard body Blazer. We don't do Lexan here. So this is not a Traxxas body. This is an RC four-wheel drive Blazer body, and it comes with an 11.4-inch wheelbase. So I had to make custom links to get this chassis to fit with this body. Here's what those links look like. I'm going to hold this up closer to the camera for you. Just bang the table there, don't worry about that. But these links are made with brake line and all thread, and I'm going to show you how those pieces work. One thing that's interesting about the TRX4 is for the rear links, the portion of the link that you use is the same length for the top and bottom. And Traxxas makes them a little bit different length by using different length rod ends on them. So these rod ends are the stock rod ends that come with the TRX4. All I've done is made new links. Now let me show you how these links were made. This is brake line for a car. You can get this. I got this at Napa Auto Parts. It's 1/4-inch brake line. And for the Traxxas TRX4 with a Blazer body or a Mojave 2-door or a 4Runner, they all use the same length links in the rear. And what you're going to want to do is cut yourself 4 sections of this brake line at 66 millimeters long. I like to measure using calipers. These are calipers that I use in my day job. Shrink isn't the only thing that I do. I design products. But these calipers, you can set them to 66 millimeters. I don't need to set it exact right now. Set it up to your brake line. Mark your length with a Sharpie. Right? You're going to just take a Sharpie and mark those out. With the brake line, you're actually going to need to cut off one end first. There'll be some fittings on here, and you can start off by just cutting off one end so that you have a nice flat end to work with. Then measure your 66 millimeter length on here and mark it. Now I cut these using a pipe cutter. So this is a small pipe cutter that I inherited. I've had it around for a long time. And the way these work is you set this on your brake line here, and you take this and you tighten this knob down until that wheel's just touching, and then tighten it a little bit more, but enough that you can still turn it. Once you've done that, and I'll show you what I mean by turning it, I like to use a shock wrench. This is the shock pliers, or really they're called, and you take these shock pliers and that'll get you a good grip on this tubing. Hold the tubing like this, tighten this tension on here, and then start turning this like this, and you'll see it start making a groove in there, and it'll get nice and loose. Then take this, turn that knob a little bit more and get it a little bit tighter. And you're going to keep doing that process, tightening this a little bit more and a little bit more, and keep turning it around, and eventually you'll feel it start to fall apart, and you'll just be able to snap off your tubing. So now, after you've got your 4 lengths of tubing, and you might start off by cutting them just a little bit longer than 66 millimeter, like I did, and then what you can do is go back in with a file. Always use a file with a handle on it, and you can take that end and just get it nice and flat. You're going to have a little bit of a burr on there from using the pipe wrench on it. You can cut this with a hacksaw instead if you want, but with a hacksaw you're probably going to start off with a cut that's not perfectly straight. It's going to have a weird angle to it. You'll have to go back in with your file and try to get it nice and squared off. The nice thing about using something like this is it gives you a pretty squared off end, so that all you're doing with the file is kind of knocking off the burr. After you use the file to knock off that burr, there's still going to be a little bit of a burr on the inside. And what I like to do at that point is grab a big drill bit like this that's nice and sharp, one that's made from metal. I put a rag in it so I don't cut my skin, because that's something that'll happen when you're doing this, if it catches. And then you can take that drill and just kind of turn it like this a few times, and you'll watch the little shavings come out until those shavings are gone and you've got a nice opening. And then you're going to grab your all thread. I used 1024 all thread because that was what was available at my local hardware store. But if you can, try to find some 1032 all thread. That's got a finer thread pitch to it, and that's going to help you when you put on the rod ends to fine tune them to get just the right length that you want on those rod ends. Now, this all thread is going to slide 1024 or 1032, it doesn't matter. That's going to slide into this brake line, just like that. And remember, we cut the brake line for this truck to 66 millimeters. I'm going to cut the all thread to 86 millimeters. And what that's going to do is leave 10 millimeters of all thread sticking out of each end. Now you can take your stock rod ends, put your rod end on that thread, get it started on there, and you can use those shock pliers again for that. Take the shock plier to hold that threading like this. Get that rod end started on there a few turns, then slide on your brake line, and then you'll put the other rod end on, and now you can put a couple of wrenches or however you normally do it and tighten up those two rod ends until they're snug on that brake line. And then you'll check, make sure they're the same length, and you're basically done. This can be done for any length of links that you want to do. There's actually brake line tools that are meant for bending this tubing, and if you wanted to make yourself high clearance links, you can do that. But in my case, I don't need these to be high clearance links. I just wanted some links to demonstrate to you how to fit this RC four-wheel drive Blazer body onto a TRX4. You can see that we've got some really, really short links in the back here, and that's because Traxxas makes their links pretty long in the front. So that, by definition, now you're going to wind up with really short ones in the back. And these are some of the shorter links that I've made. But they'll function fine. Let me show you. Here's our links doing their job. And on here, of course, you can see our body mounts for the Blazer. We make two different body mounts for the TRX4, for the Blazer, depending on whether you're doing a Blazer or a truck conversion. If you're doing a Blazer, it's just going to come with a little nubbin in the back to support the bed. If you're doing a truck conversion, it's going to come with an extra body mount in the back that goes across the back right here and drills into those two holes, screws into those two holes. And the reason we do that on the trucks is on the trucks, you're going to be cutting the bed off. It's going to be separated from the truck. So you're actually going to need two body mounts in the back to keep that bed from wobbling all around. And that's how you put a hard body Blazer on your TRX4. I've got a long video talking about other things that you need to do, that all that information is going to be very similar for the Blazer, other than what I just described to you about the links. So now you know how to make yourself custom links. This will work for any brand of RC car or, that uses links like this. Thank you. Have a good one.